Hello and welcome to part 5 of my Master Duel series. And I hit Master 1, the highest rank that you can reach in Master Duel. And in this video I'm going to showcase you how I did it. First of all, I really want to point out that the people in Master 2 played significantly better compared to the people in lower ranks. So it was a little bit rougher than hitting Master 2 or Master 3, but in the end it was not that difficult. Yes, you heard me right, hitting Master 1 was not that difficult. So let's jump straight into the first game. Here I had to go second against a deck that looks like a 60 card pile. Fortunately I have Maxi. My opponent starts with the Horus field spell and then Im-City. I chain the Maxi to the Im-City effect because Im-City can draw a card. And my opponent could draw into Called By or Ash Blossom and I want to prevent it by chaining Maxi to the Im-City effect. Anyways, my opponent accepts the Maxi change by going Ash into Poplar and then Linkuriboh. And then Poplar spell traps on itself, and then Oak. So Oak to bring back Ash, and then Oak into Flamewitch Dragon. I get a couple of Maxi draws, and my opponent decides to randomly spell traps on my own Maxi, okay. And now my opponent starts to play with the Horus engine, and then goes into Zombie Vampire. Now Vampire mill 4. This could trigger tier cards on my side, and it does, but also hits the Keldo. And now my opponent can steal the Keldo. And then use the Rainbow Bridge that was also milled by the Zombie Vampire. And then Nightmare Throne. Okay, so my opponent is also on Yubel in this deck. And now Cross Sheep. And here is where I had to go Tier Cash because Appaloosa is incoming. I try to hit something good, but I don't hit anything. And yeah, my opponent goes Phantom of Yubel. And then Appaloosa. And the Flamewitch Dragon. And now Baron the Third. And then Keldo to shuffle a couple cards back, including the Phantom. And now it's obvious that my opponent wants to deck me out. And then Curious trying to dump the Snow. So yeah, Curious dumping Snow. And then I think I was really close to decking out, but my opponent lost the timeout. Yeah, I think there was another replay where I lost the deck out, but here I won because my opponent lost the timeout. Now the next game. And I was able to go first this time. I have the Foolish Burial Goods, which equals 3 Karma. And 3 Karma equals Perla Rhino. And Perla Rhino is basically the one card full combo. So Perla Rhino to add Rhino Heart. And now I have to hope that my opponent doesn't have any hand trap. My opponent doesn't have any hand trap. So Rhino Heart resolves. And then I can say Hafness, and then Hafness can make it Carlos. Now get Carlos, and get Carlos resolves. So yeah, I would be probably cooked if my opponent had any hand trap here, but my opponent doesn't have any hand traps, so Kid Carlos and Tier Cash can resolve. So I mill 3 with the Tier Cash and 5 with the Kid Carlos, so 8 in total. I hit the Reinhardt, Shadow Beast and Scream. So I want to go for the Scream first to search a Tearlaments Trap to deck Finn by 1 card before I get the Shadow Beast draw. And I draw the Droplet, which adds additional interruption to my end board. And now discard the Salik, search Sharon. Sharon effect, discard the Strudo, mill 3 cards. And then the Strudo effect to special summon itself as a tuner. And now I can make the Baron. And then Baron could pop the Sharon, but I could also make the Readoer. And I went for the Readoer route. Because Readoer could steal a spell from the opponent's deck, which could give me a draw, and the draw could become a Super Poly discard, or a stand for droplets. So yeah, in the standby phase, attaching a monster card I think, and my opponent starts with the Superheavy Samurai Bike. Okay, now Bakushi, and I negate with the Rukalos, so destroying it. And then Rite of Aramis here. So placing the Fateful Adventure. And here is where I went Mudora, shuffled back my own tier cards. And then on resolution, Perla Rhino popped the Fateful Adventure. My opponent goes for Jet Synchron into Jet Warrior, trying to bounce my Rukalos. I simply negate it with droplets. And my opponent scooped. So yeah, pretty fast game. And my opponent was on another crazy 60 card pile. Yeah, as you can see in the deck list, a really crazy 60 card pile with Adventure, Superheavy and Synchron stuff. So really scary deck going first, but going second, not that good. Alright, In the next game I had to go second. Fortunately I have Maxi again. But I have also some board breakers, which is nice going second, but I don't have any Tearlaments engine yet. Some opponent goes Zefra and then some Folly Warrior. I immediately shotgun Maxi because I was worried about the Pendulum summon. And yeah, in hindsight, shotgunning the Maxi here was absolutely incorrect. I should have waited for the Symphonic Warrior effect to special summon from the deck to get one additional Maxi draw before the Pendulum summon. So yeah, now opponent just goes for the Pendulum summon, summoning the young Zing, which cancels the 9 pillars, setting the 9 pillars, and then pass. And I don't draw into a Tearlaments monster, so all I can do is activate Scream, hope that my opponent plays into talent, and my opponent doesn't play into talents. So yeah, nothing I can do with this brick hand. Anyways, now Yazi hits the board, and Yazi can deal with one back row and then float into Mara Mara. Maybe I could have shotgunned the Super Poly on the first token summon. But then if my opponent has any extender, I would be completely cooked here. So yeah, now going for the Danglong, and then Danglong can access Young Zing engine. And now Symphonic Warrior to summon another one from the deck. And now Baron hits the board. And then Electromite. So Electromite effect. And then Link summon at my Unicorn. Unicorn to shuffle back a back row, and here is where I think I scooped. Yeah, another 60 card deck, this time a Pendulum deck with Young Zing and other stuff. It was really unfortunate that I didn't open any Tearlaments engine in this game, but sometimes this happens and sometimes you lose games to bricks. But you have to move on and accept this reality and not get tilted because you lost games to bricks, and try your best to win the next game. So in the next game I had to go second again, but I had Maxi again. So my opponent starts with a Diabellstar and then going for the Poplar. So Poplar for original and then Linkuribo. And here is where I shotgun the Maxi because now I can't play into Gamma anymore. And my opponent just passes the turn, which is really interesting. So Fenrir to grab the Tear Cache, and then normal summon Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart's in toughness. And now I get hit with the Maxi from my opponent. Which should be still completely fine because I am very close to lethal with the setup. So get Carlos resolves. I can add the Sharon, and then Sharon could discard the Clown. And I can also tag out into a Tear Cache. So yeah, mill 5 Carlos, 3 with the Tear Cache, 8 cards in total. And now it is Trudeau on the Clown. I am very low on life points, and now I have a lethal push with Psychic and Punisher. So I go for the End Punisher here, which is lethal even if my opponent has Nibiru and Veiler. But then I get hit with Impulse, which is really surprising because I thought my opponent is on Fire King Snake Eye, and now it's suddenly Rescue Ace. So Impulse into Turbulence. And then Turbulence can pop my Tear Cache, Tear Cache can mill 2 cards. And I get to search the Meta Noise. And now Trivikama trying to grab the Grief. And then Grief could set a Tear, make Kaleido Heart, shuffle back Turbulence, attack for game. But I get ashed on the Trivikama, which is really unfortunate. So all I can do is clear out the Turbulence with my End Punisher and hope that my opponent doesn't have an out. So my opponent goes Rotor into Airlifter, and then Airlifter, grabbing the Field Spell, and then OSS into Hydrant. The Wanted poster, and then probably Diabellstar, yeah, Diabellstar. And now Preventer, and then setting 4 cards, which tells me that my opponent already top decked every single Rescue Ace card that you would want to set with Turbulence usually. Also, my opponent set up 4 bodies, but my opponent didn't go for the Underworld Goddess. That means my opponent is probably not playing the Underworld Goddess. Yeah, so no Underworld Goddess. That means I have still a chance to win this game. I just need to clear every single monster from my opponent, and then my opponent should run out of monsters at some point. My opponent goes for another Impulse, setting up more and more bodies to body block. So each battle phase I can get rid of only one monster. If I set up more monsters, my opponent could go for a huge access code talker and then attack over the another monster, and with only 2500 life points remaining, if my opponent is able to connect with an access code talker, that should be game for rescue ace. So I can't put another monster on the board yet. I have to wait and collect more and more cards to work with. And this is exactly what I'm doing here. The game plan from my opponent is probably trying to take me out at this point. Yeah, so my opponent just summoning random bodies in defense, trying to block the attacks from Psychic and Punisher, but at some point my opponent will run out of monsters, I'm very certain about it. So now going for the headquarter. Headquarter shuffling back a bunch of cards back into the deck. So here is where I try to make a push, send the Havness, and then Havness gets hit with the Called By. But I have the Mudora, so Mudora can protect the Havness from ending up in the banished pile. And also I am not under the effect of Called by the Grave, that means I could use Havness in the next turn if I mill Havness with Scream. So this push didn't work, that means I have to get rid of my own Rhino Heart by using End Punisher, banishing Rhino Heart, and banish the headquarter. And now with the headquarter being gone, my opponent doesn't have infinite shufflebacks for the rescue ace monsters. That means my opponent will run out of monsters to body block at some point. Also, my opponent can't go for the deck out anymore, even though deck out against Tearlaments is really difficult. Because if I can play with my own engine, I should be able to put Tearlaments names to the bottom of my deck and prevent the deck outing. Also, Keldo is still not used yet. That means I could use Keldo to increase the amount of cards in my own deck and prevent the deck out while my opponent would deck out first. But before I can play with my Tearlaments engine, I need to gather as many cards as possible to make the final push. So playing through 5 back row is not going to be easy. That means I need to gather as many cards as possible to play through all of those back row cards. And finally, I top deck into Super Poly, and I thought I could make Muddragon here, which can shut down a bunch of rescue ace traps, but no, I can only make a Aurora. Anyways, now some Rhino Heart. Opponent tries to imperm the Rhino Heart, I can dodge the imperm with my own Sullic. Then in Cosmic Cyclone on Sullic, I have to negate Cosmic Cyclone with my Crime. So Cosmic Cyclone gets negated, Sullic sends the Rhino Heart, and Rhino Heart dodges the imperm. And now Rhino Heart sends the Havness, and I can use the Havness to make the Rukalos. And now I protect against Nibiru again if I want to make a huge push. Foolish gets Ash, which is completely fine, because now my opponent played into Talents. That means I can use the Talents to take the monster from my opponent and go for lethal at this point. So Emergency, and then Rukalos on Emergency. My opponent for some reason drops a Ghost Ogre on Rukalos, but this doesn't stop the Rukalos effect. So Rukalos will resolve, negate the Emergency, that means my opponent will not get special summon from a deck. And Rukalos just comes back because she was destroyed as a fusion summoned monster. And now I have enough bodies to use the End Punisher effect, banish the Dire Ballista from my opponent and the face down monster, attack with End Punisher directly, and I have still one Rukalos attack. And here you can see the decklist from my opponent. As you can see, there is no Nibiru in it. That means it was probably incorrect on my side to play around Nibiru Wailer. I could have just gone for Baron, Rukalos, Fenrir, and those 3 bodies combined would be also lethal. So the End Punisher line was slightly overkill and probably not needed. Yeah, if my opponent had Underworld Goddess in extra deck, this could have lost me the game instantly. Now next game. And I had to go second against another fire deck. This time it's probably Fire King Snake Eye. So yeah, Ash into Poplar. I chain the Maxi to Poplar, but then I get hit with the Ash on the Maxi. And on Poplar, can grab the OSS. And then Linkuribo, basic Snake Eye combo. And then using the Ash to get rid of the Poplar to summon Flame Merge Dragon. And now still traps zoning the Ash, which is the send for OSS, and then Pornix, and then Pornix can grab the Sanctuary. Then a Wounded Poster. And then Diabellstar for some reason setting the Subversion. And then Sanctuary into Island. Island pop the Ponix. Then Garunix. Garunix comes back. We pop the Avatar from the deck. And then Ponix comes back. And then Sunlight Wolf. And then Promethean Princess. So Princess to bring back the Avatar. And our opponent is protected against Nibiru. And then Ember Whale. Flamewitch Dragon. IP. So yeah, not sure if this is the most ideal line to play with this hand, but it's certainly a solid endboard for Fire King Snake Eye. So I get hit with the Ash Blossom on the Sea Mara, and that's completely fine because I have Foolish Spirit as an extender and Talents, which is now alive because of the Ash Blossom. So I grab the IP here, make the SP Little Knight. And then SP Little Knight can banish the island, which would pop the entire board of my opponent. My opponent tried to negate it with Avatar, but I can negate the Avatar with my own droplet. Yeah, and now SP banishes the island, and then island mandatory effect to destroy the entire field of the Fire King player. So Ember Whale can trigger and bring back the IP, Diabellstar also comes back, and Avatar can also summon something. But the thing is, none of those recursions put a threat on the board immediately. So even if my opponent gets back the IP, my SP just beats the IP from my opponent. And my opponent forgot that SP was made with IP, that means SP is protected against the keyring pop. Yeah, now trying to set up an SP against the incoming Foolish Send, but I can just play around the IP with the SP and now Hafnis can resolve. So Hafnis and Mara can make it Carlos. And if my mills are great, I should be able to win from this position. So Kid Carlos sending Tearkash, milling 2 cards, including the Destrudo, which is already amazing. And then Kid Carlos taking out the Tearkash, mill 5 with Kid Carlos, mill 3 with Tearkash. And now all I need to do is mill a level 4 and the Shuffler. And I milled the Fairy Tale Snow, which is pretty decent, but I didn't mill a Shuffler. And yeah, I don't think I can win this game without milling a Shuffler. So all I can do here is just take over the Avatar and pray. So let me explain the line if I just milled a Shuffler. If I milled a Shuffler, I would obviously shuffle the Promethean Princess from my opponent, the OSS and the Wanted, Seeker of the Sinful Spoils. Then Fairy Tale Snow, banish 7, book the Garunix. And then this Trudeau on the Fairy Tale Snow, to special summon itself as a level 3 tuner. Go into Deep Sea Prima Donna. Deep Sea Prima Donna special summon Rhinoheart from the deck. And then Rhinoheart send the Sharon from the deck. Sharon to fusion summon into Kaleidoheart. Kaleidoheart could spin back either the Subversion or the Garunix. And then after making Kaleidoheart, I could go into Cross Sheep pointing to Kaleidoheart. During the opponent's turn, I could go for Fairy Tale Snow again in the zone that Cross Sheep points to. And then Cross Sheep could revive the Sea Mara. And then Sea Mara can send the Hafnis. Hafnis can fusion summon into Kid Carlos. So Kaleidoheart could spin either the Subversion or the Garunix, so I get rid of both problematic cards on my opponent's side within 2 turns. And then Kid Carlos can send the Sharon. Sharon can fusion summon into Rukalos. And then Rukalos could negate a card from my opponent, send the Kaleidoheart to generate follow-up for myself. And I don't think the probability that my opponent can win with just 2 cards through a Rukalos is not that high. But yeah, I didn't mill a Shuffler. It would be a really cool theoretical line if I milled a Shuffler here. Anyways, now I have to play against the follow-up from my opponent with just an SP and the Snow in the graveyard. So my opponent goes Subversion onto SP, I chain the SP because it's basically Forest, and my opponent goes Kirin on the Garunix. Now SP doesn't resolve, that means SP ends up in the Spell and Trap zone. And then OSS to search the Oak. Now going for the Promethean Princess. So Princess to bring back the Avatar. And then Oak on Ash. And then Ash to search another Poplar. And then Poplar from the hand. And then we go into Raging Phoenix, and with Raging Phoenix probably for the Silentis OTK. So no Poplar Spell Trap Zone itself. And then summoning a second Flamewitch Dragon from the deck, which is pretty interesting. Because I don't think I have ever seen a second Flamewitch Dragon in Fire King Snake Eye before on Master Duel. Yeah, no battle phase. I hope that my opponent still loses the timer. But yeah, it's very unlikely that my opponent is going to lose the timer. So Snow on the Avatar. But my opponent could just negate it and then pop a Fire Monster. Also the Snow triggered Princess, that means Princess comes back. Also Garonix comes back and our opponent has even more buddies and that should be more than enough for lethal. So I scooped. Yeah, really unfortunate I didn't mill any Shuffler here because I had a cool winning line if I just milled a Shuffler, Snow and Destrudo. And speaking about Shufflers, here in the next game I have both of them in my opening hand, which just sucks because drawing the Shufflers is not that great and my entire hand is completely unplayable. My opponent starts with the Barrier, which is the Voiceless Voice starter, and now my opponent has basically full Voiceless Voice combo. So I was really tilted because I bricked, and to save my own time I just surrendered the game immediately. But fortunately, in the next game I opened at least playable. So here I have Grief, which is a starter in combination with any other tier card. So Grief can send the Rhinoheart, and then Rhinoheart comes back, I can send the Scream. And now Rhinoheart Scream, while Scream acts as a chain block against Ash Blossom. And my opponent doesn't have an Ash Blossom at all probably, so Scream can search the Sullik and then I can send the Hafnus. And now Hafnus plus Reinhardt equals Kid Carlos. And let's see if my opponent has a hand trap to stop the Kid Carlos. No, my opponent doesn't have a hand trap, so Kid Carlos resolves. And now activate Scream and Kid Carlos into tier cache and milling 11 cards in total. So milling 11 cards here, including a Snow, a Meta Noise and a Destrudo, and my opponent said, alright, I have enough. So after a very fast loss, I got a very fast win. Let's see how I won the next game. And in this game I had to go second, but fortunately my hand is at least playable. My opponent starts with the Ash, into Poplar, then Poplar Special Summon, searching the Subversion, that means my opponent already has the OSS in the hand. Now Linkuriboh, and then Poplar will traps on itself, and then Ash into Flamewatch Ring. Then OSS into Pornix, and then Pornix to grab the Sanctuary. And then Sanctuary into Island. So Island Pop to search the Garonix, and then Garonix, Ulcanix, so summoning the old Garonix from the deck. And then Garonix pop Kirin to summon back the Ulcanix. And then using the effect to pop the old Garonix, search Avatar. And then we go into Sunlight Wolf. And then Flamewatch Dragon to bring back 2 level 1s. Sunlight Wolf to add back the Kirin. And then Promethean Princess, and then Princess into Flamewatch Dragon. And then with those two buddies we go into Ample Whale. And then SP Little Knight. I have no idea what my opponent is doing here, because this end board seems so incorrect. So in the standby phase, the Garonix has to come back and Garonix has the mandatory effect to destroy all other monsters on the field. So Garonix just nuked the entire end board from my opponent. It doesn't really matter that my opponent dropped the Maxi here because the end board is trash and I should push through that really easily. So I activate Scream preemptively to chain block the Kid Carlos against a potential Ash Blossom. And my opponent shotgunned the SP for basically no reason. I think you should just wait for the Kid Carlos and use SP on Kid Carlos. Yeah, no, I can send Hafnus and use the Shaver in my hand as a fusion material for Kid Carlos. And the Kid Carlos is chain blocked against Ash with the Scream. My opponent goes Kirin on Garonix, which doesn't matter at all. Yeah, now with the Scream I milled the Keldo. And then Avatar, Garonix. And now I have a really nasty Keldo, because Keldo can shuffle back the target for Avatar, the Garonix and the Promethean Princess at once. And that was enough for my opponent. So yeah, I think here you can see the power of a shuffler, but the endboard of my opponent was just really trash in general. Yeah, I think the deck of my opponent looks completely normal, just the way how my opponent played out the combo was completely not normal. And I had the luck that I played against the trash can firing duelist. Let's see how lucky I was able to get in the last game. So now we are in the final game before I hit Master 1. And I won the coin flip, which makes me go first. And I have the Fenrir and Grief, which is already pretty decent. So Fenrir to search the tier cache. And then Grief to send the Reinhardt. Reinhardt effect, I can chain a tier cache, so I don't have to send any card for Reinhardt. And now Reinhardt, tier cache. So we mill 3, and then I can send the Hafnis, and then Hafnis can Fury and summon into Fit Carlos. I also mill the Scream and the Solic, which is really nice, because I get to search 2 cards for free. So, Crime, and then also get to search the Sharon. And then make it Carlos, and then because I already searched the Crime, I can search a different card with Fit Carlos here. So searching the Meta Noise. And then Sharon, discard Shadow Beast, mill 3. So drawing into second talents, but doesn't really matter here. And now I set up a Baron. And now get Carlos into Hafnis. And then Baron could pop my Sharon, so I can go into Rukalos, and then Rukalos can send the Hafnis, and then Hafnis can make a Winder during my opponent's turn. I also have the Meta Noise, which can make a Winder by sending Sharon from the deck, but the Winder plus counter traps and Baron was just more than enough to win this game. And this was my final game before I hit Master 1, the highest rank that you can reach in Master Duel. As you can see, my opponent played another 60 card grass pile, and with 60 cards, it's probably unlikely that you are going to see enough hand traps to stop the tier combo completely. Also, with this exact deck list, it's unlikely that my opponent is going to have enough board breakers to push through Winder and Baron and Crime. And this was my climb to Master 1. Now I'm going to showcase you my deck list. The deck list that you can see on the screen right now is the deck list that I used to climb from Master 5 to Master 1. And I wanted to have more consistency. For this reason I played a second Grief, while some other lists may play only one. And for the non-engine I played 3 Maxi, 3 Super Poly, 2 Forbidden Droplet and 2 Talents. Because I think a heavy board breaker approach is the best solution for going second. And the gameplay for going second in general should be trying to break the board of the opponent with cards like Kaleido Heart, Pearl Rhino, and then set up a Deep Sea Prima Donna into Psychic and Punisher, and then either OTK the opponent or try to set up Psychic and Punisher as towers that is impossible for the opponent to out. I got my deck list uploaded to masterduelmeta.com, and I will leave a link in the video description, so check it out. Anyways, see you in the next video, have a nice day, bye!